Um, all of us are relatively new in this field of archiving, and so we thought that a conversation would also help us kind of um, talk about how we can collaborate and also increase inter-archive conversations and also not just on the projects that we have, but also on our process. Um, so to start off, I will give like a brief overview addressing some of the questions from NPL's perspective, and after that, um, Confluence Collective will share their kind of interpretation of the questions, and then Echoes in the Valley, and then we'll open up for questions and discussions. Um, can I share my screen?
Yes, I think you have access. So if you click on screen share, it'll allow you.
Okay. Mm, can you see?
Yes.
Okay. So the larger questions that we also sent in that little blurb were how does archives evolve over time? What are the factors that influence the changes in the structure of the archive, and what kinds of futures are we imagining as we build archives? Um, so with NPL, it started off as um, trying to collect photographs, old photographs that were degrading in its materiality. So old photographs that were fading and that we felt that we needed to save those digitally, otherwise the material would not remain. So we kind of just went all out and then we collected whatever we could find, and we got quite a few really old photographs. And the whole point of entry to this process of archiving was through the material, the the tactile photographs itself, and um, through from that first phase, we came up with this book, and before that also the exhibition called Facing the Camera. We found a lot of studio photographs, old studio photographs, and these kind of gave us gave a very interesting glimpse into the history of Nepal through studio photography. So one of the ways, so we started out, our archive started out as um, not through the process of um, building the archive was through the material, um, and that was the point of entry in the beginning. However, this kind of changed over time. These two are also other examples of the things that came up from that thought process and from that process of archiving. Um, so after we did the Dalit exhibition and also for Feminist Memory Project, we kind of shifted our approach to how we're going to go and collect photographs. So we really had to kind of um, engage with the content and also put it in context of the larger history and also the structure. Think about the structure of the archive as well, because we were also growing, and the structure of the archive kind of has its own role in society as well. Um, so um, we started questioning where are we looking for history. Um, and what are the places that we go to find these? If we are gonna focus primarily on visual archive and visual photographs, where are we exactly going to find these photographs? Where are we physically going? Who are the people we are calling on our phones and actually talking to and getting the photographs from? Before the drive was, um, the photos were calling us, but now we kind of like shifted gear and then started really thinking about, um, thinking beyond just the material itself. Um, and with the Dalit project and with Feminist Memory Project, the aim from the get-go was to kind of, um, change the way we look at the visual history of Dalits and of women and also the feminist movement. So, um, this kind of this aim when helped us, build helped us, think through a framework. So we were thinking like the aim for us is not to kind of just collect whatever we can find in Dalit history or whatever we can find with, pioneering women who have been influential, but to also, really, um, collect photographs in a way that changes the way we look at photographs of marginalized people, and also changes and in turn changes the visual culture, overall. So that was the aim and the framework that kind of helped us, um, approach this. And we did a lot of exhibitions, and through the exhibitions also, I think it, helped us frame our own, understanding of the archive, uh, because it was more like our exhibitions are held in like public places. So, um, that exchange to kind of that exchange with the people directly, and with a large, number of like any random person whoever crosses that public space, that kind of direct engagement also influenced the way that we're looking at the archive and how we're collecting as well. Um, yeah. So, right now, recently we have finished the Feminist Memory Project Phase 2, and this project kind of, um, pushed us into like another, another kind of rethinking of our ways to build archive. And, because with the first phase, most of the materials that we collected were from Kathmandu, and we got a lot of photographs because Kathmandu being the capital city, there were a lot more technological advancements in comparison. But we wanted to like move beyond, and, but that also meant that we couldn't just rely on, photographs because they're not as easily available, or at all for that matter. So we had like, a bit of an existential, self-questioning moment, and we're like, maybe we should like expand our horizon and also work with oral history. So that's what we did. Wherever we couldn't find photographs, we went with oral histories and recordings, and also, personal stories of people. Um, and so for that, we have to like also teach ourselves what is oral history, how do we collect that, and this happened during the pandemic, and that also kind of played a role on how we were navigating these questions in the archive as well. Um, and some of the things that we realized in the process was that, uh, archiving it can be a very slow process, because it's when we are looking for personal stories and personal histories as a way to kind of challenge the mainstream historical narrative, then it becomes a lot more about establishing trust and, a connection with the people that you are taking, stories and photographs from. So, and that takes a lot of time. Like sometimes you go meet somebody, and it's very difficult for somebody to kind of just trust you with their personal photographs just because you say you're an archive, right? So it takes a lot of time. Um, it's a lot of network building and solidarity building and forming connections. So that that can, like, in this really fast-paced, material-based, sorry, not yeah, result-based kind of, the way that we design our projects and the way that we get funds for our projects, it can be a bit of a problem. So that is also something to really think about and take into consideration. And also, to get metadata, um, which I'll get into later, a bit more. Um, so from Feminist Memory Project phase to Punu Tungana, and I went to a few places and collected really interesting photographs, albums, but also we came across different materials, and this is one of them. This was an album of uh, textile, like different kinds of stitches, and um, Nirmala Nirmala Shastra, it was hers, and she had really nicely put different kinds of stitches and textile designs on like an album. We were expecting photographs, but then we found this. So yeah, interesting finds, and we just picked it up and we brought it here as well. And so the things that we find unexpectedly kind of also pushes us to think beyond just, you know, our our visual world. Um, and these were some of the other photographs that we found. There were so many photographs, and we always have to like keep self introspecting and questioning about which ones to archive and which ones to not, because in the end, what it means to archive a photograph, especially in as a digital archive, what it means, you're taking something that is very material and making it into data as well. So really thinking in very different layers as well. Um, yeah, and we also worked with regional journalists and researchers this time, and they went around and um, interviewed people for their oral history and found different people whose stories they wanted to, they thought that would be relevant for a feminist memory project. And it was really interesting to work with um, journalists from outside Kathmandu, and to also see how also kind of negotiate this idea of what an archive is with them, because journalists are very fast paced. And but it was a nice experience overall. And finding things like this, there was an old school magazine, um, yeah, and at places where we couldn't take scanners, Punodiri is taking photographs of the photographs like that. Um, Most of the times we try to bring the photographs back to Kathmandu and then scan it and then send it back. But sometimes, if when that was not possible, we did this. And these are documentation photographs of our research fellows taking interviews. And that leads us to now another thing that has been occupying our mind and office space, like space, anyway, is that how is the website which we're building, and we're aiming to shift the entire collection online, and uh, that is again making us think about how we imagine archives in the online space, how we need to kind of navigate already existing online archive structures, like for example Google and Facebook and Instagram, um, and think about the interface user, um, how easy it is for the user experience as well, and the back end, front end, all those stuff. And yeah, but it's still like there's still a lot to kind of think about, and this is not complete yet. It's in the process, but yeah, this is the next kind of step in our evolution. Um, that is all I have. I think we can now. I'll stop sharing this. Um, we can move to Confluence Collective presentation, and then we can do questions at the end together.
Hi everyone, this is Praveen from Conference Collective. I'm one of the member of Conference Collective. So about Conference Collective, so we are from Darjeeling and Sikkim Himalaya region. So we have 5-6 friends who have come together as a volunteer to do something, because we lack all this kind of space here, and we are very young uh, collective from this region, and maybe one of a kind, we can say that, because we don't have much of all this thing. And uh, and about the archive, when I went to Nepal Photo Circle for workshop during 2014, so that time I got to see what they were doing, or uh, what archive is, and why it is important. And because in our region we never had this, and it was like an eye opener for me, because whatever we had as a visual uh, documentation or an archive was just things that happened when during a British era kind of thing. Whatever we could find uh, was visually was only till independent kind of thing. Whatever was shot by British, whatever you could find on Google and all, and on websites and all. So, and most of the our region has has gone through a lot of things like conflict, identity crisis, fight for language, culture, environment changes and all. But it was more of oral, just a oral story that we used to hear from our grandparents or some older people, and we didn't have any visuals of it. So last year, like we got connected and we formed Conference Collective. So we have members from Sikkim and Kalimpong and Darjeeling. Since we have a same kind of demography, and we speak same language and culture is same, so we thought of like merging. So Kalimpong and Darjeeling is a small area. It's a two district from West Bengal, and Sikkim, as you all know, it's one of the northeastern states of India. So we merged together, few friends, and we formed this Conference Collective. So basically, like I said, like we face that problem of like not having any visual archive or uh, about the region from like a local people, because we didn't have much studios also, local studios or local photographers who documented all these spaces, or all these movements and all our history. So what we started was, I'll share my screen. So, can everyone see? Okay. So like what Yutsa told, it was the same kind of thing that we also felt, because we were on the verge of losing a lot of things, a lot of documents and all. about the region, and we started with archiving our friends and families albums. So we started doing it with some, like, we were also not confident how to go about it and start. So we were in constant touch with Shikhar from NPL, and he helped us a lot. And we're really thankful to Shikhar and all the members of Nepal Picture Library. So so that way, like, because we were very new, and this was what we wanted to start, and we started with our family members and friends we knew, so that it like we slowly started gaining some confidence and started working on it. And and after some time, like, because our region has a lot of schools that were started by British, and it's been there for more than 100 years and some. So we what we did was we approached some schools, if they have some archives from the schools or from the old times. And also, like, one of the schools that we got the archive was from Dr. Graham's home. It was started in 1990, sorry, 1900. So we got the archive from there, and we started exploring all those archive from that school, and we found lot of history about our place, uh, about, like, how they documented our area, region, and people, places, and all. So these were some of the clips from the album that they had. And through all these things also, because like I said before, like, we don't have our visual archive, so we had to go and look back into the archives from the olden times only, so to understand how our place was, how our culture was. So this is how we started. So we are really grateful to Dr. Gramsons for letting us uh, uh, like document their archive, which they had also not kept it well. So, like, we had to clean it up, and we found some slides and negatives also, which we scanned, and we got a lot of information about our place, even about schools and all. Uh, and and after that, like, we have been archiving family. Uh, so this is how we have been archiving, and we are trying to understand more about the place. And also, what interesting thing about archiving family album was, like, they had all these other things also, not just the family thing, but some pictures about the conflict, the identity crisis. Some had pictures of them going for a rally uh, for, la- for a language protest, environmental change, culture, and other things also. So that was an interesting thing, because people had documented some of this in their family albums, which we never saw, or it was not out for a public to view. So we found it really interesting. So now what we plan to do is, since we've been archiving family albums and all, and even through all those things, what we saw is, like, some of the important uh, the changes or a movement that happened in our region was Bhasa Andolan, or a language movement, Nepali language movement, that because of the identity crisis of Nepali living in India. So it was one of the biggest win for a Nepalis living in India, when in 1992 it was like bill was passed, and Nepali was one of the languages of it became a part of Indian Constitution. So we now what we want to do is, like, we want to work on this Bhasa Andolan archive, because and the difficult thing what we are facing right now is it was started the Vasa Andolan was started in Dehradun, and we are here in Darjeeling. So we want to get some help and advice from all of you. So how we can do it here? What happened was the Vasa Andolan was started in Dehradun, but uh, the lot of things happened, important things, and all the decisions were taken from Darjeeling. And at the end, it was like the victory came from Sikkim. So it's all connected, all this reason and it's interestingly how everyone got together and like and it became it became a history. So like we want to uh, work on this as a theme because mostly we are just doing archiving family albums and whatever we can. So we want to now take one theme and start working on it, for which we need a lot of help from you all and advices so that we can move forward. And this was one of the pictures that we got. It was a slide that we got from Dr. Graham's homes. Here you can see a lot of students studying outside, and even the terrain that in the background you see it's a Sikkim. So the school is in Kalimpong, but this the whole mountain you see it in the background is Sikkim, and now if you see it like it's all covered with houses and buildings everywhere, and and uh, and like Yutsal, we also found other letters and other documents that were not photos, but it was interesting. Here you can see is a we got uh, an album from Samsara Ali. He was and his father. There we found a small letter kind of thing, which you can see we have translated in English. It's written in Nepali, and it dated back to 1921. So he was one of the, I mean, local photographers uh, from the region, but we couldn't find any of his archive because they said like because of they shifted to new home a long time back, all the things were destroyed and all. But we found this interesting letter, which a letter from that family album that we found. And uh, and this is a the slide the slides boxes that we were lucky enough to archive. It was by Chitwan Tashi. Uh, he is from Sikkim, and he was one of the royal photographer of Sikkim, and even King of Bhutan. He served. He used to be a royal photographer, and we found out that he had also opened up opened up a studio in Kalimpong. Even in Sikkim, he had a studio. So we have been doing all this kind of work without like understanding much like how archives works. But what we are trying to do is just digitizing all the old family albums and whatever we can get. So now the challenges that we are facing is like what to do with it and how do we sustain, because everyone has taken this collective as a volunteer. So we don't have any funds or any space or the process like Yusa said, it's a long process. Even just to scan one picture, it takes like 4 to 5 minutes or more than that. So we want to understand like how we can move forward, what things can help us to get some funds, and and how do we work uh, in regarding this Bhasa Andolan. So thank you.
Thank you. Rajendra, would you like to go next?
Hello, hello, check, check, check. 1, 2. Am I on? It's gone all serious. Kire, sorry, I'm already speaking in Nepali. I might speak in Nepali somewhere because I'm not very articulated when it comes to English. So excuse me for that.
Hopefully, I'll understand most of it.
You're Nepali, Virangana.
I'm half
Good.
Nepali because I have to now listen to all the Triennale meetings, which are all in Nepali. So I'm still listening in and I'm trying to understand what's happening.
Just when Praveen was talking about identity crisis.
Yeah.
So I've quickly prepared a PPT, a PowerPoint presentation too. My mom had been sick, so I hadn't been able to like concentrate on this. So hopefully, Praveen was telling about like how tedious scanning a photograph can be, right? Like it can take up to 10 minutes to scan a photograph. We deal with audio. Most of the tapes, they're at least 60 minutes. So just to digitize it takes like 120 minutes, like one tape. Before that, let me share my screen. Is it happening? Never done this. Okay. If it gets boring, just stop me, okay? So Echoes in the Valley basically is a music festival. By the way, my name is Rajan Shrestha and I'm part of the festival and part of the archive we've just started, which we're calling Nepal Music Archive. We've got Robin Dongol here with us too from Nepal Music Archive. He's the research head for the project. So Echoes in the Valley is a not-for-profit annual music festival which focused on mainly folk music from different parts of the country. Our goal was to make relevant Nepal's intangible heritages like music, stories, fables, and like disappearing sounds by showcasing local music, art, and performances, etc. So we've just we're nearing the end of 2021 edition of the festival. We started this in 2017. It's an initiative of a fusion band called Kanta Dub Dub, and Night, a band called Night, Kutumba, and an artist named Fat Kauli is supporting it. Started in 2017 and till 2020, and this virtual edition that we're pulling off for 2021 had been directed by the festival had been directed by Mr. Bhushan Shilpakar. We know him as co-founder of PhotoCircle, Nepal Picture Library, Photo Kathmandu. He's a graphic designer at heart. So yeah, these are the posters that we did. The last one that we're still doing is like a 1-year thing. Like all these editions had been a one-day festival, like a whole day festival actually. But this year we couldn't do it for 2020 because of the pandemic. And the last one, we call it A Letter Home because it features all the Nepali artists from the diaspora, and they send all these performances to us. And we've been doing this since last year, January, actually. So this had been like a year-long festival, 2021. So in 2021, we've expanded the festival not only as a music festival, but we've started these programs. Like Kaleidoscope would be a series of residencies for artists, music-based artists, dance artists, uh, and also a fellowship with like mentorship, research, um, residencies, and performances in the festival itself. We also started Echo's Music Fund, which is a need-based scholarship fund that we give to two of Nepal's finest institutions, and they do like as they please to like to need-based students. They provide to them. Uh, uh, since since the initiation, we've been doing this conference. We call it Confluence, which is basically like there would be themes for each edition of the festival, and we do this conference with stakeholders, artists. Like we used to do it physically, but for 2021 we did a virtual edition of the conference too. Um, so expanding Echoes in the Valley as a music festival, uh, we've been thinking of like when we do research regarding certain kind of music, uh, there always had been, it was very hard for us to find data, metadata regarding audio-based stuff from Nepal. Lots of research papers had been done by foreigners, uh, which are cool, but anyways. So since we are a very, very new archive, we started this in September 2021. I mean, the idea was there since 2018-19, but we've been able to pull this off only this year, like in September. Actually, the whole digitization and metadata insertion process had just begun this November. So we are a month and some days old archive. So we don't have much. I mean, we have some interesting stuff, but we don't have much yet. And direction-wise, I mean, we're like any archive. I think we're just collecting stuff left and right, everything and anything, right? We're not being, let's say, how do you call it, result oriented for now. Um, so the first picture is our setup itself. We've been collecting lots of music-based magazines. We've been scanning music-based articles. So basically, we digitized, we digitize and catalog analog media related to music, especially Nepali music. When we say Nepali music, not only in Nepali language, but in different languages, because Nepal is a very diverse country. We've been collecting tapes, DATs of different formats, lots of like obsolete technology, analog and digital. Like the last thing we acquired was, like we saw, was a zip drive, which is a digital format, but it's obsolete, right? So it's just a beginning for us. The fourth picture looks interesting, so I've just put it there. It's not in the archive yet, but there's been talk of us digitizing Dafa Bhajan Kala. It's like Dafa Bhajan Kala is like old hymn tradition from Kathmandu. So in the fifth photograph, we see Robin with a very renowned drummer from Nepal. So we're also trying to profile different artists, some artists which are important to trace the history through different lenses. So we've been trying to profile. We're starting with Nuche Bahadur Dangol. We've also just acquired like 3,600 album covers from the 90s to the 2000s. Basically the pop rock history of Nepal. The seventh picture is lots of textbooks and tapes that was published by Saza Prakashan being the national, I don't know, how do you call it? Shukhu can help. What is Saza Prakashan?
Government-run publication.
Government-run publication, yeah. That's it. Yeah, sixth photograph is like how these are like record label executives, the Nepali version of it. So basically, we're a very new archive. We've been digitizing and inserting metadata to whatever comes to us. There's some interesting tapes that had come up. We're also collaborating with Madan Puraskar Pustakalaya, which is one of the oldest paper-based archive here in Kathmandu. So they've provided us with some interesting tapes that they want to digitize and catalog. So in the process, Nepal, we've just devised ourselves like a manual so that anyone who is interested in archiving audio material, audio-based material, be it audio, video, text, or photographs, can do it, you know, once they go through the manual. And we've also devised a proprietary Nepal Music Archive software, like a backend where we can like put in metadata for our own purpose. This is like an internal database. We haven't thought of any access yet because it's tricky with audio. So yeah, we're kind of proud of this proprietary software that we've devised, actually. That's the only thing we have right now. No, yeah, I think that's it. So basically, I mean, if we do a physical festival in 2022, which is in the pipeline, like we're thinking March, Nepal Music Archive will have a showcase of some kind in the festival. If we cannot pull a physical festival off, then we'll probably have some kind of digital showcase happening in March. Yeah, we're looking forward to learn from NPL and the Confluence and everyone in the room right now. So we're very new. We think we know what we're doing, but we don't. So help us. Thank you. How to unshare this?
Are you also collecting images, Rajan, with the sounds?
Yes.
And are you planning to put those up in the archive?
So
I'm curious because I've seen some of what you've done with Nepal Picture Library as well, where the instruments have come in.
Sorry, I didn't.
No, I said I've seen some of the instruments that you've put up as well. Sorry, my video is off because my internet is a bit unstable right now. No, what I was saying is that are you also planning to collect images that you put up on the website, especially of older instruments? Because I've seen some of those which
No,
I
I
think,
also do this project called Fuzzscape with
yeah,
Prasanth.
yeah, you mentioned that.
So you probably seen the images from NPL there as posts
Right.
because
So are you adding those
we're
to the
doing this
archive
whole.
too?
Yeah. I think Fuzzscape is open enough to give all their materials to Nepal Music Archive. So we'll be doing the whole metadata stuff for them too.
Yeah, also when we were discussing about this workshop, how we could collaborate in different ways, because at NPL we started doing oral histories as well. So we have to work with audios, and they are experts in audios, and we have been digitizing photographs. So how can we like use each other's resources? And so that's also something that we've been
That'll be
talking about.
exciting to work across mediums and archives.
Yeah. I also wanted to throw this question out there. I know Echoes in the Valley, Nepal Music Archive / Echoes in the Valley. You guys did a copyright workshop on music, and so I know that copyright. Even we are thinking about how copywriting works with photographs and in the archive as well. So it's like it's a difficult kind of issue to kind of deal with as an archive, because most of these collections, especially our collections, these are private photos, and we also have to think about how to exhibit them, and sometimes even kind of sell them for through books and collections. So yeah, I was wondering how you guys um, think about that, navigate that, and
Um, it's tricky, but like acquiring an audio or like keeping it for the archival purpose is legal in Nepal. Like you can always scan a book or have a digital copy of an audio, like even if it's published through uh, a record label or a publisher, you can always have a copy of it within the archive if you're a registered archive. Uh, but about the access that you're talking about, like how to sell prints and like even to like showcase it as an exhibition, like I think you just go and ask the person and tell them honestly like what you're trying to do with it. And then that's our plan too, actually. Like we haven't asked anyone. Like lots of audio are from Music Nepal, and they're very strict about their copyright, infringement, because they're a huge record label, right? They're like, I don't know, Capitol Records of Nepal. And we've been digitizing their tapes. To digitize it like that, it's illegal unless you're an archive. You can always have a copy of it in your hard drive if you're an archive legally. But if you are to showcase it somewhere, then we'll go talk with Radio Nepal and tell them this is happening. Like, so do we need to pay some kind of royalty that will eventually go to the musician or whoever we're showcasing, or like what's the deal, I don't know if that answers your question yet.
yeah, it does. I think it comes down to, again, the forming connections and
Yeah.
maintaining good relations.
Uh,
Does anybody have any other questions? Otherwise, I can bring
no,
up
I have
another
a
question.
question actually,
Okay.
because it took us like 3 months to devise that damn that database management to, how do you call it, software, right? Or like how is NPL managing so much data, or like Confluence Collective managing so much data? I mean, relatively, I guess it's lesser data because it's visual, right? With audio, it's tricky, and there's this one more thing that we're doing. We're going inside the audio and marking everything and then putting it in metadata too. Okay? So that can be super tedious. Might need some kind of musical expertise to, uh, I mean, that's already too much data. So we had to devise that thing, right? But with NPL, I've seen like Shikhar work day and night to figure out the back end of it, like trying to take things off Lightroom, and like maybe that's the workflow that works for photographs. I don't know. I wonder about like Confluence Collective. How are you managing that data? Like how are you tagging the metas and stuff?
Yeah, since we are new, and what we got suggestion from Shikhar was like, since we are new and it's a advantage. So what we are trying to do is even at start only we are trying to uh, build all this information uh, into all the files and images and all through Lightroom and and Adobe Bridge. So that way we are, and we are, what we are doing is like we are just getting hard drives, and we are putting into two hard drives so that one remains safer that way. And that's like now we don't have much. I mean, I think we have around 100 to 150 family albums that we have archived, and some of the personal collections and all of some of the photographers. So right now it's like kind of easy, but maybe later on, maybe after 2 3 years, we don't. Also, we also not like sure what we plan to do with it and how do we store it or keep it.
Also, uh, like I can always compare it to, I don't know. Let's say it comes in an album, right? Like a collection comes in an album with, I don't know, a Chinese album with Mao Zedong workers with its cover, and then you open it and then there are photographs, you know. If there's an album, are you also archiving the covers, like digitizing the covers or not? Like how are you keeping track of it? Because with albums like we're dealing with right now, what we're doing is we're scanning the sleeve because it has encryptions on it, blah blah, and we're also taking photographs of the physical material, like from the front and from the rear. Those are already two photographs, and then the scan, the sleeve could be long, like so underscore scan underscore photo one underscore photo two. Also, we're tagging each marker, so there's a whole database of that too. So every tape will have at least 6 different files with different extensions. You know what I mean? Like let's say we're taking photos in JPEG of that physical tape. That's already 2 photos. We're scanning the sleeve. That's 3 JPEGs. The Excel sheet for the markers of that audio, the data for that, that's 1. And the Excel database that happens when we use that software, that's like the main database of that particular file, you know. So we're already talking about 6 different files in a folder, you know.
Yeah.
That kind of technical, I don't know, are you guys facing that at all? It's not a difficulty, but like, I don't know. I mean, I'm the kind of guy who who had always documented stuff, but like within the folder structure, you know what I mean? Like I'd say photos, date, underscore this. So I could see it in folders. But if you're dealing with 3,500 album covers, each folder with 6 different files, then it gets tricky to rename, like even to batch rename that thing in itself. So that's why we had to devise that, like, R1 underscore C3 underscore AUD underscore C3 underscore S kind of thing. I know.
Yeah.
Well, like, how are you guys doing it? Like last time when we went to NPL, we saw Sikhar do it like hybrid, where like you could see a few things within the folder structure, and then maybe there's a different.
Yeah, when we started, because I mean, most of us at Photo Circle are photographers, and we have been digitizing our own digital photographs, with available software. So that was our first software of choice. But Lightroom, because we are digitizing, it's not digital photograph coming out of a camera. So a lot of the metadata are generally captured by the digital camera these days, and it's already there. But with these analog photographs, it's there are so many other levels of data that Lightroom or any other software that's available that does not have those fields to put those software, put those data. So yeah, it was very difficult for us to. So right now what we are doing is, when we are making this application, so basically the website is 90% is just an application to process that data, and we have just figured out our own data set basically that we want. And that's how we have made the back end of the website. So I guess that has helped a lot to process these data. And we're also trying to incorporate different files, and as you said, extensions, like audio, video in the future if it comes, how all of that can be searchable, sorted. That's what we have thought of and designed so far. But there's still, we still see gaps. I guess it's an ongoing process to find a perfect solution for all these things. Yeah, it's.
No, I think it's a. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna add, like, in relation to the albums that we get, so many times the albums themselves are so interesting with the photographs that we cannot like take it out from the album, so we just carry the entire album and we bring it. And we try to scan the photos. In the examples that I've shown you, we try to scan the photos in the album itself, and then so in that way we also get like a sense of how albums were. Like you kind of you're archiving the photos with the albums as well, and also thinking about, and it also kind of saves the person, whoever has made that album, how they have kind of placed their own photographs. So it's like you're archiving their archive, like meta archive.